I am gone. Now say it again for all of you people that are just tuning in right now. The HOA patrol entered our backyard, and they didn't know that the sheriff's badge was hung up on the wall inside. Just to give you some more backstory, the home we live in right now is actually not even ours. We're just staying here while our house gets built. And this is my wife's parents' house. They've lived here for about 30 years. There are no issues with the HOA except for the fact that her dad left his truck in the driveway when he moved out. It wasn't abandoned or anything like that. He just left it there because he has another vehicle that he uses every day. Well, the HOA didn't like that, and they sent a letter saying that he had 24 hours to remove the truck, or they were going to have it towed at his expense. So he got a ride from a friend and went down to the local car dealership where he bought the truck and asked if he could keep it there until he figured out what he was gonna do with it. And the dealership said, "Sure, no problem." Well, fast forward 3 weeks, and the HOA is sending letters left and right about getting the truck removed. But there's another problem. You see, the city decided to come in and repave the road and the driveway. And they also mark the parking spots and put in these big yellow curbs. And in doing so, they messed up the measurements on the driveway. And now it is blocked in, and you get in or out of it. So now the HOA is pissed because the truck is still sitting there, and they coo and get their markings chalk lines to match up. Because they do know exactly where the property line ends and the driveway begins. So they call the sheriff's office and tell them that they need someone to come out and help them find the property line so they can continue with the project. Well, my father-in-law, who's a retired sheriff's captain with over 30 years law enforcement experience, sees all of this going on, and he decides that he wants to go talk to them and explain the situation. But before he can, two sheriff's deputies show up and start searching the area. My wife's mom opens the back door to ask what is going on, and one of the deputies walks in without a warrant and starts asking questions. She tells him that she doesn't know anything about a property line dispute and that he needs to leave because she's trying to cook dinner. But he continues to ask questions, and she gets really upset and tells him that if he doesn't leave, she's gonna call the police. He gets the hint and leaves. But he doesn't tell his partner. His partner continues to ask questions, and she continues to brush him off. But finally he asks her if he can walk around and look outside. She says, "Sure, go ahead." So he walks around to the side of the house and then to the backyard, and he is looking around, and there is my truck. He walks up next to it and he sees the sheriff's badge hanging on the wall. He immediately drops to his knees and puts his head down. I walk out and ask what is going on, and he tells me that he needs to ask me some questions about the property line. I tell him that I don't know anything about that either, and to talk to my wife's parents. He asks me if he could ask them some more questions, and I say, "Sure." When my father-in-law comes out, the deputy immediately stands up, puts his hands behind his back, and asks, "Captain, can I ask you a couple of questions?" My father-in-law looks at him and says, "Well, first off, why are you on my property without my permission? Secondly, why didn't your partner tell me that you weren't gonna ask me any questions after you saw my badge?" He then proceeds to tell him that he was there about a property line dispute, and that the HOA sent them out to locate it. My father-in-law tells him that there is a property line survey that is located inside the house somewhere. If you would like to look at it, you are welcome to come inside and look, he says. Okay, I just want to finish up out here. So he goes over to the truck and looks at the other side of it and sees a second sheriff's badge hanging on the wall. He immediately drops to his knees and puts his head down. My father-in-law looks at me and shakes his head and chuckles and walks back into the house. The deputy follows close behind and asks if he could look in the truck. Of course, my father-in-law says, sure. Go ahead. After he looks in the truck, he gets up and follows us into the house. After we talked with the deputy for a little bit, we went out to the backyard and waited for the tow truck to come pick up the truck. When the tow truck driver arrived, my father-in-law explained the situation to him, and he understood. So, he said, hey, since you guys are cool, how about I give you a free tow? My father-in-law said, yeah, thanks. But I'm going to turn you around and point you towards the local dealership. The driver said, oh, okay, no problem. So he drove past the house, turned around, and headed toward the dealership. Well, as soon as he passed the house, the HOA patrol shows up. They'd be driving through the neighborhood and checking everyone's mailbox to make sure that the flags were stray. But when they see the tow truck, and they see that the truck is being loaded up onto it, they stop and ask what's going on. No, we didn't know that they were watching, but my father-in-law did. He was standing by the mailbox, watching the whole thing happen. So, he walks out and asks, what's going on? They tell him that they're getting ready to tow the truck because it's been violating the HOA rules. He says, yeah, I know. That's why I called the cops and they showed up, didn't they? One of the HOA members says, no, we didn't call the cops. He says, well, then who did? And they all look at each other. The HOA president finally speaks up and says, well, someone did call the cops and they told us that they were coming out to check the property line. So we thought that maybe it was you or your neighbors. He says, no, it was me. But it was only because you guys trespassed onto my property. Then he points to the driveway and says, besides, the truck isn't even parked in a violation. You guys just have UN figured out exactly where the property lines are so you can paint the driveways and stuff. They look at each other again and the HOA president tries to speak, but he cuts him off and says, listen, I'm gonna tell you this once and only once. If you guys have any problems with me or my family, you come talk to me. You don't send out letters. You don't call the cops. You don't trespass. And most certainly you don't block our driveway in so that the city can't pave it. Got it? They say, yes, sir. And we'll be on our way. As soon as they drive off, my father-in-law grabs the spray paint and starts marking off the actual property line and where the driveway is supposed to begin. He finishes and says, perfect. Now we wait for the city to come back and finish paving. End.